Good morning, everyone. We welcome our media again this morning for another update, and we're very thankful that you are here. As we continue to highlight, we see you as an important partner in our development of the aviation industry and the growth of Solomon Airlines in the country. We have a lot to update you on. I'd like to start firstly by welcoming Mr. Gus Kraus, who this week has rejoined us here. As you may know, Gus is former CEO of Solomon Airlines on an interim arrangement and was previously General Manager ground operations as well as commercial. He comes to Solomon Airlines having served with Air Niugini Cargo as General Manager and brings with him overall more than 54 years of airline industry experience. With the full confidence of the board, he has accepted the role of the CEO to lead our ongoing operations. I would like to also mention that this is a changeover now, and I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank and put on record our thanks to the former CEO, Mr. Brett Gebbes, for the aviation experience and expertise he has also brought to us over more than 4 years, and for his strong contribution to Solomon Airlines during what has been an immensely challenging period, as you will all appreciate. In today's briefing, we will cover our ongoing developments in our aviation sector, in the airlines, the announcement of new managers, an overview of our domestic and international operations, and our plans going forward. As you will all know, in April this year, I talked to you about our financial position, that it was very, very difficult, but slowly improving. And our gratitude to the Solomon Islands government, the Australian government, and the New Zealand government for supporting us through this difficult time. We were again flying our Twin Otters to more than 20 destinations in the country, and flying was limited because we had to keep within the COVID rules. We joined with 30 local tourism operators and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism and the Solomon Island government to restart the UMI Together Holidays program. And we have ongoing discussions with the government now to see how we can continue with that, with the Public Service Commission, availing the opportunities for their staff to travel to other parts of the country for their holidays using this under this special package. Our Dash 8 remains in Australia, and our CEO will update on that going forward. On international flying, our A320 Airbus was operating twice weekly between Brisbane, Honiara, and also some support to the government of Kiribati. And as I mentioned, we had a strong support from Australia and New Zealand, particularly Australian government, on that Brisbane-Honiara route. All of these components of Solomon Airlines return to flying program, as we called it, is to prepare for the reopening of the border, which subsequently occurred on the 1st of July. I'd just like to give you some updates. We have new board appointments. We have 2 appointed by the minister, Mr. Jackson Killoy. As you will all know, is a leader in the country, but also someone with aeronautical engineering experience. And he brings with him strong exposure in the Australian aviation industry and senior leadership experience in the country, with strong rural and economic development experience. So we're very happy to have him on board. We also have Mr. Mike Clay, who is the CEO of the newly established Solomon Airlines Airport Corporation Limited. And Mike also brings very strong management, airport management, risk management, strategic experience. And it's giving the board a good, well-rounded participation from professionals from various sectors. I'd like also to announce our new management appointments as we enter this new chapter. The board has a particularly emphasis on skills and capacity development at Solomon Airlines, longer-term succession, and the implementation of key performance indicators for senior managers. We'd like to announce and welcome Mr. Josefa Wivo, our new commercial manager, here in the room with us. Josefa has considerable experience leading corporate commercial teams in the aviation and tourism industries in the Asia-Pacific region over the last 14 years. And he was recently Regional General Manager, Fiji and Pacific Islands for Fiji Airways. Previously, he was with Tourism Fiji and led the development of the National Tourism Board's niche tourism program as part of Fiji government's 2021 Tourism Development Plan. And with Agoda.com, which is one of the world's fastest growing online airline booking platforms, he managed key aviation and accommodation partnerships in Oceania. And also he was Manager Corporate Development at Qantas. So as you see, Josefa will bring a wealth of knowledge, experience, and skills to the airline, and we're very, very grateful that Josefa is able to join us. Also, another new management appointment is Mr. Robert Rounds, who is our Manager Ground Operations. Robert has management background in operations, operational planning, and commercial functions, including with Samoa Airways, Fiji Link, Air Pacific, as well as Fiji Airways. And as we rebuild international and domestic operations and grow our network, he will oversee all our ground operations to support operational efficiency. Another additional appointment is Mr. Robert Brown, and he comes on board as the Manager Quality Assurance. As I'm sure you appreciate, quality assurance is vital function, ensuring that our equipment, systems, processes meet all the requirements set by the International Civil Aviation Organization and our own Civil Aviation Authority of Solomon Islands. And this is at every stage of the operations. Robert brings to us extensive experience for over 50 years working with airlines, including Air Nauru, Royal Tongan Airways, Air Pacific, and as a former inspector with Civil Aviation Authority of Fiji. On behalf of the board and management, we welcome the three senior managers, and as you will hear from their background, together with the CEO, they will add immense value to the senior management team we have in the airline. And also, as chair, I really look forward to the new team of the existing managers and the new managers taking the airline forward in good progress. We continue to have challenges, but we see them as opportunities. The runways in Henderson is being fixed. The provincial airfields is being worked on, and the government, with the support of the New Zealand government, Australian government, Japanese government, and the World Bank, are working at improving our various airfields throughout the country. And for us, it's a great opportunity before us, because as the finance manager will say, the repairs and maintenance are one of our biggest costs, and with improved surfaces it'll be good for our domestic route. Santa Cruz is going to be repaired, and hopefully in September it'll start again with the interim improvements, and I understand it'll be paved, tar sealed next year. So that's important for our airline, our most furthest eastern airfield. Then there's improvements to Kirakira, funded by the government. Sege, New Zealand government with the Australian DFAT, Solomon Airlines government, Munda, Taro, and of course, as you see, already familiar with our international terminal and the upgrades to our airfield here. So we're really looking forward to all that. Looking forward, we have some more further developments that will be taking place. I will stop here and hand to the CEO to share with us all his summary on how we will proceed on with our domestic and international, and some of his preliminary remarks as the new CEO now of the airline. Over to you, Gus.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, team, for coming this morning. My background with Solomon Airlines is that in 1989, we took the airline from just a purely domestic operation into international by leasing a Boeing 737-200 series, and we recruited the expertise from Air New Zealand, and we started flying our own jet. Thereafter, I came back for another 9 years in 2007, and we took the next stage of development by going into the Airbus. There's a remark on the Airbus. It's a perfect airplane for the Pacific Islands because it has containers underneath to cater for cargo. The Boeing aircraft has no potential for cargo in the belly. It's all manually loaded, and it makes it difficult to move cargo around the Pacific when you've got heavy equipment that is required by the economies of the countries in the Pacific. As far as the Dash 8 is concerned, the company through the board has agreed to return the Dash 8 to Solomon Islands fleet. It's been a difficult decision only because the cost of the repairs has started to creep up for unexpected findings when they opening up the aircraft to see that there's other things that need to be done, and the cost goes with that. The last part of the transition to get the Dash 8 back will be the main landing gear, and I'm advised by my colleague here, Peter Soqoilo, that we're making the final payment, or we made it today, and therefore the new landing gear will arrive probably in Perth, where the maintenance is, probably by mid-September latest. It'll take probably about 10 days to actually install it and test it, and we expect it back either at the end of September or the first week or 10 days of October. The schedule is already loaded, and it's planned to be operational by the latest, probably around the 10th or 14th of October. As you all know, the Dash 8 is double the capacity of the Twin Otter, and Christmas is coming, so October return augurs well for the Christmas period. So we welcome the board's plans to approve the return of the Dash 8, and I think that it'll augur well for the company moving forward. It's a workhorse, and moving forward with the fleet review, we'll probably have something to say further on that by the end of the year. We're just walking through the process of what's our makeup for the future years. And as part of the direction by the board to have a strategic plan in place, we're working on that together with the fleet planning exercise. So that's on the Dash 8. I must say that the Dash 8 still has only limited airports at the moment, and together with what the chairman's mentioned about the developments of the other airports to a standard that's acceptable both for the Twin Otter and the Dash 8. We await some more news for development of the runways. Maybe I can stop here by just diverting attention to the current issues that we have in LATA. That is something that the Ministry of Civil Aviation is working with MID to appoint a contractor to actually go and repair it and rehabilitate it. The timeline is not certain at the moment, but in order to at least give service to the area, we planned a service to Lom Lom this weekend from Kirikira, direct to Lom Lom and back. Our problem with that operation is fueling is in LATA. There's no fuel in Lom Lom. So we're working on a plan with the potential contractor to get some fuel drums from LATA to Lom Lom so that we can uplift maximum loads. And we've done our risk analysis, and basically I think you all know that safety is paramount to the airline. And when we indicate that it's difficult to fly to an airport, we do it for safety reasons, for everybody concerned. Recently also, you probably may be aware of, there's some issues with Taro airstrip, and we're working with the MCA to get that minor fixes in place before we fly back there again. Those are the two airports of concern, and naturally Segi is being worked on. We're not sure if it'll continue, but downer construction have been there, and clearing the bomb disposal from World War II is part of the problem. So we know that they're going to move to Taro and try to work out between Taro and Segi which one is more suitable to complete the project. As you know, Christmas is coming, so I think there's a bit of movement going on to plan the importance of getting the runways up to standard, especially for the Dash 8. It won't stop the services of the Twin Otter, but the Dash 8 needs work to be done on the runways. We've already loaded our schedules for October, which includes the Dash 8 operation into the Mundagizo area, as well as Auki Kirikira, and hopefully before too long back to LATA again on the Dash 8. I think moving forward for tourism as well, Suavanau becomes an important part of our development plans, and we hope that the plans in place to upgrade Suavanau for a Dash 8 will happen. Segi services UP Resort, and that in history has been a big tourism mover for Solomon Islands. And Mundagizo naturally sits well there as well, and Auki for the cultural aspects of it. At the moment, Lom Lom is and Manauba have been sitting in the background, but we'll review the plans for those two areas. As far as the international schedule is concerned, we'll ramp up in October for 4 flights from Brisbane. At the moment, it's still a little bit hesitant for the public to fully utilize our 2 flights. Both of them are giving us good returns on loads, but with adding 2 more flights, it's going to be a bit, we'll have to do a bit better promotion with the tourism body and make sure our marketing efforts on the website and all that, we move upscale the ability to sell more seats. We're doing 1 scheduled flight at the moment to Wheeler Nandi, and we're going back to the old schedule that will operate Brisbane, Honiara, Wheeler Nandi overnight and come back again the same route the next day. Fiji Airways is not flying to Solomons, as we all know, because of the runway conditions. That's a call that they make. As far as we're concerned, safety is not compromised, and Air Niugini continues to fly through here. We're doing a little bit of assistance, as Chairman mentioned, with Tarawa, and hopefully we can continue that together with the government of Kiribati. that's part of the plan moving forward. So we have to go and talk to the government again to see whether they can continue to assist with the development of that route. We are looking, I talked to the board yesterday about looking in the longer term for PNG. I think, as you know, PNG, the mining community is ramping up, and they'll be looking for labor hire and skill sets, hopefully from Solomon's, and we believe that will take place. And in order to capture some of that revenue, we need to look at the potential whether PNG becomes part of our route map or not. We did it before, and we can do it again. It's just a matter of fine-tuning the potential to make money on the route instead of losing money on the route. So that's part of our plan going forward. We'll continue to monitor the recovery of travel because it's not quite as it used to be pre-COVID. Naturally, the export level of the seasonal workers is good business for us. And I think it's good business for the economy. From what I hear, you can't stand in line and collect money at the Western Union. So it's good business overall, so we need to nurture that and make sure we capture part of our business. In terms of our international operations and our partnerships, we have a partnership with Qantas. We are looking at potential interline approvals with Virgin as well. We are co-chair partners with Air New Guinea, also with Air Vanuatu, and Fiji Airways when they're back on the run. So we are sort of developing our base to what it used to be pre-COVID. Having said that, that adds value to the company, that somebody can buy a ticket from London all the way to Honiara, one ticket, instead of going by some airline today and then different airline today and different ticket base. We're looking at making sure it's ease of travel for the client and not too much hassle to. So we'll continue with that push forward. I think clearly Australia and New Zealand is still our biggest market. We have to pay attention to that. We've got a sizable office in Brisbane to help with that. And I've already talked to our new commercial man, Josepha, to make sure that we have a review exactly of what's required moving forward. Because the issue is that with the COVID issue, it's been more controlling aspects by our Brisbane office because they already went through and they're okay for COVID. Whereas we, with the COVID issue, there was hardly any activity in Honiara, but most of it was in Australia. But seeing that we're coming out of it, we need to review where we stand and how we control our main markets. We look forward to working with the governments for the air service agreements between Fiji, PNG, including New Zealand. And I must say that, I think it's no secret that China is the main market as well, so we'll be discussing air service agreements with that. We acknowledge the great appreciation of Solomon Islands government, Australia and New Zealand governments, because without them we wouldn't be here sitting talking to you. As you know, aviation is not a cheap game. Everything is in foreign currency, US currency, as far as the cost of the airplanes are concerned. So, and COVID-19, I've briefed the team basically to always bear it in mind that if COVID hits again, we need to already be mindset prepared. Because COVID is one of those problems that can reappear anytime. And as we know, the cold and flu issues is exacerbating the problem of COVID and creating a lot of headaches. I've got to do a paper on the restructure of the company and the new organizational chart. That I hope to be prepared by the end of next month, where we have a board meeting that I can present it to. Mm-hmm. And we'd like to streamline the structure. It's a little bit, to me, I come from different airline background, watch how they operate and their org structure. And I've got some ideas and I need to float that past the board before we do anything. So as far as the financial part of it, maybe I'll ask the finance manager to just give a summarized position for the company and where we stand as of current.
In terms of our financial position, as my chairman and the CEO has highlighted, we come through a very challenging environment with the lockdowns and the just opening of the borders. Yeah? So without the government support, we would not be maybe operating. Yeah? This year, the government has injected around $16 million. 6 million in March and 10 million in July. Yeah? So that kind of help us with our operation. In terms of costs, I think one of the big costs we encounter during our first 7 months is the sea check. Our operating environment, we have ports along the seaside, so salt water and all this, so corrosion is one big issue. The surface of the strips, so that kind of contributing the wear and tear of the aircraft. Yeah? We still to get some of the final touch-up costs for the repair. So this is including the 2 legs. The legs is the landing gear. So we have to replace both landing gears, yeah, both legs. Yeah? So this comes the very, very big cost to you. So that would, whatever government gives us, it just flow out from these repair costs. Yeah? So we have to really tighten up our cost controls so that we can manage our operating costs and our fixed costs. I think that's briefly what I want to highlight here for our financial position.
The government has been very, very supportive, and we provide an essential service in the country, and I hope you feel the same with us, that the services to all our provinces, as well as connecting Solomon Islands with the rest of the world, is an important service. And while the government is continuing to support us, we would also like to sharpen our pencils and become more efficient, maximize the revenue, cut back on costs where we can. And I have full confidence in the team that is just being announced, together with our staff, our pilots and our engineers, to work towards that goal.